As men cross into their 60s, one of the biggest changes that often goes unnoticed is how dramatically the body's internal chemistry shifts. Hormones like testosterone, dopamine, and nitric oxide begin to decline, subtly altering how men experience desire, energy, and even motivation. Many assume a drop in libido is simply a natural part of aging, something to accept quietly, but the truth is far more empowering. These changes don't mean the end of sexual vitality. They simply require a deeper understanding of how your body now functions and what it truly needs. When testosterone levels dip, the brain's reward system responds differently to arousal. What once felt effortless may now take more stimulation, more patience, and more intention. Dopamine, the motivation chemical, also plays a crucial role. It's what makes pleasure feel rewarding and satisfying. When that reward system dulls, men may find themselves chasing stimulation through more extreme visual triggers or giving up altogether, thinking something is wrong. But in reality, it's a biological adjustment, not a failure. By recognizing how hormones and the nervous system interact, men can begin to approach self-pleasure not as a performance, but as a practice of awareness and connection. Another key player often overlooked is nitric oxide, a molecule that drives blood flow and supports erection quality. As it declines, circulation to the pelvic region can weaken, leading to slower or less firm erections. But the good news is this can be improved naturally. Movement, good nutrition, hydration, and mindful arousal all help increase nitric oxide and keep tissues responsive. In essence, the body is still capable of strong, healthy sexual function. It just needs to be nourished differently than it was in your 30s or 40s. Understanding these internal shifts reframes everything about how men experience pleasure. Instead of feeling frustrated or defeated, men can learn to work with their body's changes, not against them. Self-pleasure becomes a way to balance hormones, strengthen circulation, and reconnect the mind with the body. It's not about chasing what used to be, it's about discovering what's possible now at this stage of life with awareness, patience, and care. The real secret most older men wish they'd known sooner is that desire doesn't disappear with age. It just evolves, waiting for you to meet it differently. When we talk about masturbation, most men over 60 immediately think about how often they should be doing it. But the real question isn't frequency, it's technique. Over decades, many men develop habits of rushing through self-pleasure, often in front of screens, relying on visual stimulation rather than physical or emotional connection. While this might seem harmless, over time it can actually rewire the brain's arousal pathways. The result: the body becomes conditioned to quick, artificial triggers and struggles to respond naturally during real intimacy. What I want men to understand is that arousal is not just a physical process. It's a deeply integrated dance between the mind and the body. The brain interprets sensory input, releases dopamine, and signals blood flow. But when the mind is distracted or overstimulated, that connection weakens. Think of it like tuning a musical instrument. If you keep playing the same rushed note, the sound eventually becomes dull. But when you slow down, listen, and engage fully, everything begins to resonate again. This is why how you touch yourself matters so much more than how often. Slow, mindful stimulation allows the body to relearn its natural rhythm. Taking time to notice sensation, breathing deeply, and being mentally present can actually strengthen erection quality, increase stamina, and heighten satisfaction. When you focus less on release and more on connection, you activate parasympathetic pathways, the rest and recover system, which is essential for healthy sexual response, especially as you age. In clinical terms, men who shift toward mindful, slower arousal often experience improved blood flow, greater sensitivity, and better control. It's a process that retrains the nervous system to respond more naturally and less mechanically. Some even find that their emotional connection to pleasure deepens, transforming masturbation from a routine act into a meaningful form of self-care. So, rather than counting how many times a week you should do it, focus instead on how you engage with your body each time. Pleasure after 60 is not about performance, it's about awareness. When you slow down, you don't lose intensity. You gain it. One of the most overlooked aspects of male sexual health, especially after 60, is pelvic strength and circulation. Many men spend years focusing on the visible parts of their body, the arms, the chest, the abdomen, but forget that some of the most important muscles for sexual performance are hidden deep in the pelvis. These are the pelvic floor muscles, and they play a major role in erection quality, orgasm control, and even bladder health. As men age, these muscles naturally weaken if they're not used deliberately. Add to that a more sedentary lifestyle, reduced testosterone, and slower blood flow, and it's easy to see why many men experience softer erections or longer recovery times. But here's the encouraging truth: this decline isn't permanent. The body is incredibly adaptable. With consistent pelvic floor engagement, proper movement, and improved circulation, men can actually reverse much of this loss and regain confidence in their performance. The first step is reconnecting with the pelvic muscles. You can locate them by stopping the flow of urine midstream. Those are the same muscles you want to strengthen. Once you know where they are, you can begin simple daily contractions, holding each for a few seconds, then relaxing. This activates blood flow, builds tone, and enhances control. Over time, these exercises lead to firmer, more reliable erections and better sensation. Think of it as fitness for your sexual health, small efforts that compound into big results. Beyond targeted exercises, overall circulation is equally critical. Healthy blood flow depends on movement, hydration, and oxygenation. Regular walking, deep breathing, and a diet rich in leafy greens, berries, and omega-3s all support nitric oxide production, which keeps blood vessels flexible and responsive. When you combine this with pelvic work, you're essentially rebuilding the foundation of sexual function from the inside out. The most fascinating part is that men who practice this consistently often notice improvements not just in sexual performance, but in confidence, posture, and even energy levels. The pelvic region is a core part of your body's vitality. When it's strong and alive, everything else follows. For many men over 60, conversations about self-pleasure still carry an invisible weight, a mix of embarrassment, silence, and old conditioning. Decades of cultural messaging have taught men that masturbation is either a sign of loneliness or something to be hidden, never spoken about openly. But the truth is, at this stage of life, self-pleasure isn't about secrecy or guilt. It's about self-care, healing, and emotional balance. When we strip away the shame, we begin to see how deeply masturbation connects to mental and physical health. It's a form of stress relief that lowers cortisol levels, improves sleep, and boosts mood, enhancing chemicals like serotonin and oxytocin. It helps maintain healthy prostate function and supports hormonal balance, yet many older men deny themselves these benefits because of outdated beliefs. The first step in reclaiming your sexuality is letting go of judgment, both from others and from yourself. Aging can sometimes bring feelings of loss of youth, virility, or desirability. But when men approach pleasure as an act of self-respect rather than self-indulgence, everything changes. Self-touch becomes a way to stay connected to your body, to remind yourself that pleasure is not reserved for the young. It's a sign that your body is still alive, responsive, and deserving of care. When you reframe it this way, you're not just stimulating your body, you're nurturing your mental health, reinforcing confidence, and maintaining a vital connection to your masculinity. It's also important to understand that pleasure evolves with age. What once felt automatic may now require intention and patience, and that's okay. Slower, more mindful self-pleasure allows the brain and body to reconnect, creating deeper satisfaction than quick release ever could. This mindful approach builds emotional intimacy with yourself, which can enhance intimacy with a partner as well. You're not performing, you're exploring. When men begin to see masturbation as a wellness practice, as natural and beneficial as exercise or meditation, the shame fades away. What replaces it is curiosity, gratitude, and renewed confidence in one's own body. The greatest discovery isn't that pleasure changes with age, it's realizing that it never truly leaves. It simply waits for you to rediscover it without shame.